Teresa, read.
Okay. Go ahead.
Ready?
I'm going to call to order the September 30th, 2021 special meeting of the Tipp City Board of Education, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Melanie, whenever you're ready to call the roll.
President Dunaway,
Here.
Joellen Heatherly,
Here.
Simon Patry,
Here.
Ann Zakor,
Here.
and Corinne Dahl, absent.
Absent.
Okay, we have a quorum.
Okay.
Begin the meeting.
Great. Looking for approval of the agenda tonight. Motion in a second, please.
I move.
Is there a second? I'll second. Mrs. Zakor and Mrs. Dunaway. Any discussion? About the agenda? Well, we have a motion in a second, so you always ask for discussion, so.
What's the discussion?
Oh, I guess I should read that for people who are just recommend approval for a live Board of Education candidates forum. So that's it. There's only one item on the agenda tonight.
Well, I was concerned when we brought this up, whether there be any conflict of policies or.
We haven't voted on the approval of the agenda yet.
What that.
Oh, right, approval of the agenda,
Oh.
motion in a
Motion and
second.
second just
Oh,
to
I'm
approve
sorry,
the
I thought we
agenda.
were on
So-
the, okay, my apology.
Yep. Zakor,
Yes,
Dunaway,
Yes,
Heatherly,
yes,
Patry.
Yes.
okay,
sorry.
motion carries. So
Now,
now, now we can discuss.
Okay, so the first item on the agenda.
Yeah, so new business, item 2A, Board of Education Candidates Forum. Recommend approval for a live Board of Education Candidates Forum. So this came up at our regular meeting on Monday, and
We need to motion.
what?
First and a
Oh.
second. I moved for that item.
Why is everything so confusing tonight? I agree.
It's Thursday.
Motion in a second, Mrs. Zakor and Mrs. Dunaway.
Now we're open
Yeah,
for discussion.
Now we can talk, now there's discussion.
Okay, so at our last meeting.
On Monday, right.
On Monday, thank you, that it was a concern. One concern was that whether or not it was prohibited in policy to hold a candidates forum here on the school property and sponsored by within the school. And so I reached out to Ohio School Board Association and spoke to their deputy attorney, Ms. Harden, and she said statutorily, there's nothing that they know of, but then they have been asked that question before at OSBA. Then I reached out to Dr. Burkhart, who does Neola for our policies, because I went through our policies, but there's just so many and different, and I wanted to make sure. So I reached out to Norm, and he responded back with 2 policies.
Are those the ones you sent us?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Did I send them? Thank you.
sent them, yeah.
Because I don't have my computer.
Oh, I
So
have it.
If you have it, please
Yeah.
take over with that,
Yeah.
because. But the bottom line was what I read in those 2 that Dr. Burkhardt, we know him as Norm with Neola, recommended. I couldn't see any conflict or prohibition there.
That's the one you sent us.
Okay, I'm glad I said that.
You
So
sent one.
I forgot I did.
It's okay. I only saw one. If you sent 2, I
Yeah.
only got one.
So under policy 7510, use of district premises, school premises shall also be made available to any certified candidate for
That should be
public
current.
for public office in any recognized political party or organization for the purpose of conducting public discussion of public questions and issues. It states a little bit more. And then it states, under no circumstances shall school premises be used to raise funds for political purposes. The way I read through that, and then the other one that he sent us, I can my view was I didn't see anything that jumped out prohibiting us from doing this.
So I reached out to Miami County Board of Elections and I spoke to Laura Bruns and I asked her about doing this. And I even said on school property in the Board of Education office. And I said, you know, is there an issue with the superintendent and the Board of Education president being the moderators who read the questions? She said, absolutely not. So she gave us a thumbs up, completely within the realm. So that made me happy. So we've approved the agenda.
Okay.
And we're discussing hosting a candidates forum here. And so that's where we are. So you haven't missed that much.
Awesome.
So anyway, so that's everything. Did anybody else do any informational gathering or come up with something that is opposite of what we found through our research? No, because Simon, you said it was not
I said,
permissible, so that's
I
fine.
said, that's not what I said. I said, I don't know whether it is or not. I couldn't put my finger on it. I just felt improper for the Board of Education present members to host this thing and ask the members and the candidates questions. I did do some research and kind of asking around what's traditionally been done and what's occurred in the community, because I think I like Tipp City's traditions. I like our school's traditions. I think they're important. And what I did learn is that traditionally there's been most elections for school board candidates, there's been 2 meet the candidates nights or candidate forums, and that's predominantly been held by either the local newspaper and the government class. And then Mr. Senton, who happens to be here today, I think I happen to be in Mr. Senton's class teaching his class about trial from opening statement to close. And right before we began, he started speaking to students about things that were coming up, and then he indicated that they were planning a candidate forum as well. And so traditionally, my understanding is that the government class and the students have been the ones to hold the candidate forum for the Board of Education candidates without board involvement. And the Tippecanoe Gazette, my understanding, is also planning one. And so that it seems to me like right now we've got 2 that are planned. And I guess I wouldn't want the board to come in and step on the kids in the class's toes or the Tippecanoe Gazettes if there's already going to be 2. To me, that seems sufficient. And so if there's no prohibition whatsoever, then I think that makes sense to me to let the government class do what they've done traditionally with the Tippecanoe Gazette. We've got 2 meet the candidate forums that take care of everything we need.
Well, you use the word tradition, and I have a hard time using tradition when you only have 2 examples. So the very first time they hosted a candidates night was the election that I ran in. There were 6 of us, and it was put on by a group of community members, and they did it at LT Ball. There were 6 candidates. And the most recent time when Mrs. Dahl and Mrs. Heatherly ran, we did it at the high school, and Mr. Simmons class, I believe the seniors, or I'll just say the government class, did the questions. And as we discussed on Monday, the issue with that is not, we're the people who've been doing this job for 4 years or 6 years or 8 years kind of know the important questions. A senior in high school might not think of the same thing to ask as a current sitting board member would think, or a superintendent, or a treasurer, or a director of curriculum, a director of HR, or a director of exceptional children. Those are the people that know what goes on the agenda, what the board members have to spend time on when we're not sitting in these seats. There's a lot of research that goes into this job. So for that reason, I think it's important that we host it. Simon, you mentioned that Mr. Sentman's class was doing it on October 20th. Nobody else has given that date. So my issue with October 20th is early voting.
I didn't say any date.
Somebody said October 20th. I'm pretty sure it was you. Early voting.
Well, this is recorded, so
Okay.
it'll be shown. It's not coming out of my mouth.
Okay, October 20th came up. I thought it was you. Early voting starts October 5th. So October 5th is early voting. The government class is going to do theirs on October 20th. That's 15 days of voting. So I would like to do it as soon as possible. Sorry, go ahead. I wasn't trying to interrupt.
No, I didn't say anything. I think that Mr. Sentman, they did theirs and it was cool. Joel and I were part of that.
You were
The
there.
kids kind of ran it. They asked questions. I think they were submitted through like Google or something.
Well, I don't know, but I'm not allowed to talk.
Yeah.
We take questions from the audience as well.
Okay.
So not all the, how I run it is that we have the students write questions and we bring in media personalities from and to also kind of go along with your tradition. We've also done a Meet the Candidates night twice where we did the House of Representatives and the not US Senate, State Senate, State Rep. So we've done that 2 or 3 times. I think this is our 5th Meet the Candidates night that the AP government class will be hosting.
Yeah.
Our date, just so you know, is the 21st. I officially
Oh,
reserved
okay.
the CPA.
Great.
The media, the Gazette, I think that's what they're called. They're taking the 19th.
Okay.
So those are the 2 dates. And we bring lots of people. These questions are vetted very thoroughly. And when we get questions from the audience, I'm the one that goes through them. If it's a question we haven't had, or I know the students don't have, they're pushed up and they are pushed up to the top. So if the community has questions, they are more than welcome to ask in our Meet the Candidates nights. So kind of fill in some information for you that I put together. I finally had it finalized this morning, so.
Yeah, so it was from that lens. I didn't know that you took community questions as well. I think that's really awesome. So candidates have an opportunity to be asked and respond to, getting those young voters engaged in governance. And, I think that's great, especially that you mix in the other houses. That's or the other runs. That's really cool. And then they have a Gazette opportunity. I don't think we did Gazette. This is like a new one.
They did questions, but it wasn't live. She sent us all, at least me.
Oh,
She sent us all questions and we
So
each
it
got
was
the
like a
same questions.
I think
and they put it in
somebody
the
did
paper.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So somebody provided that opportunity, a similar type opportunity. And then I think when I ran, Rotary invited people down and a downtown partnership maybe invited us for breakfast or something. So you get questions that are geared from that angle. People that know about business ask you questions regarding business and education when you go to the Rotary. People that have more of like a tip-centric interest ask those questions at the downtown partnership breakfast or whoever hosted that one, I forget.
It was the Optimist.
The Optimist, yeah. So you get asked different lensed questions at different events. When I was running, I would have welcomed an opportunity to sit in a forum where I'm going to be asked questions about education as somebody that's running for an education seat. At the other forums, I really didn't get I got some like, well, how do you feel about technology in the classroom? A very generic, broad, which looking back at COVID and how that affected it, that was just the questions that people are opportuned to hear from this type of a panel are going to be very specific and very like asking a doctor for a recommendation to another doctor, right? So asking people that are background in education at this level of questions about this, if I was a candidate, I would welcome this opportunity. And I think of knowing that I'm a citizen that's going to elect 2 people, I am interested in their responses to very specific questions about education that we can, help craft or be a part of. Also, like there have been other private events that candidates have gone to already that the rest of us voting citizens have no idea what questions were asked.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Tipp City Concerned Citizens invited candidates to private sessions.
Oh,
So
okay.
I want to be able to hear more
Right.
question and answer opportunities so that I know who I'm voting for.
Right.
Just as somebody that votes, I want more opportunities.
I don't know the candidates
No,
and I'm voting, right?
Right.
And I'm working with 2 of them and I
Right.
don't know the candidates. So, to me, if we already have one with the Gazette and one with the government class and we have one here, that's 3.
We don't need to have one. We do not need to have one because think about
I disagree. We do need to have one.
Okay, I appreciate the research that you both put into this. However, when you put it on the agenda, according to my discussion with Mr. Stefanik, he was already aware of both of these coming, and you all seem to know about it.
No, he didn't tell us that. I didn't know that.
Okay.
I didn't know that until that night.
There. We discussed it on a Monday. It
Well,
was
it
not
isn't even fair. You
unanimous.
accused us of something and we didn't know. You said we knew about it, we did not. I didn't know
Okay.
about those events. I heard about it that night. I actually thought it was Simon, maybe it was Mr. Stefanik. And I did not know about the Tip City Concern Community.
I'm not
event. I
talking
didn't know about
that,
any of this.
Teresa.
Did you?
Teresa, we discussed
She
it.
said we knew. I didn't know
Knew what, Joe?
about these events. She just said.
There- Okay, I'm not gonna argue that.
Well, I'm not arguing, but you
Again,
can't say that we knew about something.
Just because
we did not.
can legally do it, we
Oh, that's
should
a lie.
not do it. We have no business involving ourselves in anything with candidates, because anything that we ask, according to your logic, is poor optics for our community. We don't need to do anything more as a board that creates any sort of controversy in this community. And any
No.
perception of us being involved in an election will only create more outrage from candidate or from our community and stakeholders. There is no reason we should be distancing ourselves from this. We should have nothing to do with it. Because based on your logic, if we know what the job entails
Mhm.
and they've never been in the job, then you can craft whatever question. They're not going to have the ability to answer it unless they've been coached. And I don't believe you all would coach anyone, and I don't want to be accused of that either,
I would
but
never coach anyone.
that's what you're going to run the risk of.
I could say the same thing about the other groups. I could say that, the Gazette's putting it on or you know what I'm saying? That conversation goes both ways.
Well, we have
The
nothing to
Tip
do with
City
it.
Concern, the Tip City Concern Community Group has already interviewed the candidates. They have their people that they want to win these seats.
Right.
And
That has
I'm
nothing to
sorry.
do with us.
So first of all, I don't understand the statement, the Tip City Concern Community Group has interviewed. I need some clarification from those statements because I have no understanding what that means or what that's going on. My understanding from what we've seen in our board meetings is that, and in the Tippecanoe Gazette, that the Tippecanoe Concerned Citizens Group has been dissatisfied with this board and is indicating they're going to file a lawsuit. I
And
didn't.
has an agenda. a very
Have they had a
pointed
candidate
agenda,
night? Have they
They
had?
A very pointed agenda.
Well, what the Tip City, from my understanding, is that they did bring in candidates. I don't know if they invited all the candidates. And they questioned them based on certain stances and they determined who they're gonna back.
Well,
That was their event.
were you present
Which is,
there?
Simon, that was their event. And one of the candidates posted on their Facebook page that they went to it. So no, I wasn't invited because I'm not a part of that group and it wasn't posted for open invitation. But that's besides the point. The point here is, do we want to have an opportunity for candidates to ask questions about education from people that have been invested in education and the governance of it, which is a very different lens than a Tippecanoe Gazette lens, than a high school hosted night lens, than a Tip City Concerned Group lens. It's just another opportunity to let people see the candidates interact with questions and respond.
You know what, that,
So
I think that's fair,
I'd
and I
like
think
to-
that if,
As a parliamentarian, I was the first to motion. I haven't spoken on this other than the beginning of the thing, so I would, in parliamentary procedure, like to have my fifth of the seat. That's all.
And I have to leave in 11 minutes.
I'm sorry, I'm not responsible for when you leave and when you come and go. It doesn't change my fifth of the seat.
Right,
Whether
and
you
you
hear
received
6
notice
minutes
of
or
this
60
meeting
minutes.
with no
Right now, you
explanation.
just brought this in. This is a classic example of what's frustrating me in
well,
parliamentary procedure.
What is your feelings on this that you want to share?
Well, I was trying to do that,
Well,
Joellen.
let's go ahead, do it.
Okay, without interruption, I will be happy to. So what I was trying to say, I like the idea. First of all, I don't know that there's anything rule-wise that prohibits 3 forms or 4 forms.
That's been established.
I don't think there's anything that shuts that option down. Given a lot of the controversy in the community, it may not be a bad idea to have 3 forms. I do want to trail on, I think it is interesting. I attended, was it
Long time ago.
2016, 2015? I attended the LT Ball.
Long time.
I also attended the one at the high school. And I think that's great that we had it. It's certainly better than nothing, but there was some, for example, Do you think we need a new school? Broadway, well, I mean, that's sort of a brainer answer. The better question would be, and what would be your plan and how would you convince? So the education component coming from a board, I think is fantastic because those typically are not addressed and asked. For example, parliamentary procedure. I had to learn a lot starting this. This was all new to me. I'm glad I'm learning it, but it is a real part of being a board member, learning parliamentary procedure. I'm still not doing it right, and we're not doing it right. We need to do it better. That's a question. Education's a great education oriented questions, I think, are also great that can come from here. So from my perspective, since it seems there's no prohibition in doing this policy-wise or statute-wise, and there's nothing prohibiting the quantity, I'd say, what's the harm in having one? And those that can make it, and those that can't, they can't. And it may even facilitate more options if that's going to be the final number, 3 events, gives more options to the candidates. Hopefully they can attend all of them, but if not, they still get a chance to have input in the other ones.
Nothing precludes a candidate from contacting any of us for a one-on-one discussion with anyone. That's what I did before I decided to run. I met with the treasurer, I met with the superintendent, and I met with the board members to get insights. That's what you're talking about. How do you instill information?
No,
And
No, we're not talking about that at all.
okay, but
The
based on what you're
community, the
saying,
entire community
the
deserves
community.
information, right? I mean, the community is
There are-
used to watching our meetings. They're on YouTube.
it's
I mean,
not our responsibility to provide that forum.
Nobody said
There are
that.
forums and ways to get information about
It's
candidates.
not the
That's our,
argument whether it's our responsibility or not, Joella.
it's the voters' responsibility to do the research on who they're going to vote for.
Nobody has
That's not
any, there's no information out there, Joellen. I've looked at these candidates'
That's
pages.
not our responsibility, Teresa.
I'm not saying it's our responsibility. I want to do this.
Well,
I think the community deserves to meet these 4 people. We have a lot on our plate right now.
Exactly.
Facilities is a big issue.
Right,
I
we need to
mean,
be focusing on district things. We're inserting ourselves again in a function that we have
In
no
your
business.
opinion,
I can't think of anything more important for our district to do than to meet the candidates. Why are you so afraid
Afraid.
to have these candidates?
How are you going to preclude the accusations that candidates were groomed?
Go ahead, yeah.
I
Or
think,
coached?
I think that there's always people that don't like the outcome of something and they say, oh, well, it was hedged this way or hedged that way, or maybe a person isn't good on the spot, or maybe a person was really nervous being in the board. There's always going to be reasons or perspectives why people didn't do as good as they wanted or thought that they could have done better. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we're given the unique opportunity to use the privilege of this office to help more people have access to candidates that they currently don't have access to. People are used to going on YouTube and watching our stuff. So we have an option here that we are not by any means, anywhere in any book or policy or ORC required to provide our community this service. Do we want to do something above and beyond what we're required to do to help our community? And I think knowing that my daughter is going to go to a building that needs to be built, that I really, really want to select the 2 best candidates to replace these 2 seats. And I think this is another opportunity to provide people more access to people that they don't already have access to.
Well, it's about
So
providing
parliamentary procedure,
information.
you've spoken twice, I've spoken once, I'd like to say something, please. So I think it's a fair point to say that we may have a unique perspective and that we may want to ask questions of candidates based on our unique perspective so that things that are important to us and that are asked of candidates can then be relayed to the public. And so I'm not going to debate that. I think that makes sense to me. I think that Ms. Heatherly's point, though, is also very well taken, is that depending on how that's done, whether there is impropriety or not, there's going to be a high likelihood of an appearance of impropriety. And that's something that we should always be concerned about. And so if this goes forward, my strong suggestion would be to this board is that rather than have us involved in the third night, each member drafts their own question that will elicit the information to the public that has been indicated as important. We provide it to Mr. Sentman's class as part of their night. And then the information that's important to us is then provided to the candidates. And also, I think that in the interest of fairness and avoiding the appearance of impropriety, is that we give those candidates the questions in advance so that they have the opportunity to become informed if they're not, and provide us a well thought out response. And that's traditionally when I've done the meet the candidates night for the Chamber of Commerce for council, we've sent those questions in advance. And so that makes sense to me as well because it addresses that. And then it seems to me that solution would address all things that we're talking about here. We're saying we want to ask questions that are more knowledgeable, more in depth, related to the Board of Education that other people are not equipped to do. It takes care of addressing any appearance of impropriety and provides the candidates the time to provide a thoughtful response. And it doesn't step on the toes of the AP government class who's already been in the works to do this.
I could not disagree more with giving the candidates the questions ahead of time. I was not given the questions ahead of time. Corinne, did you receive the questions ahead of time when you had your candidates night at the high school?
I do not believe
We've
we
never
did.
received the questions ahead of time. And if a person is willing to run for a seat on this school board and invest 4 years of their life, this should be very well thought out. I have not seen anybody coming to our meetings. I attended meetings for 2 years before going on the school board. Now, I understand they can watch them at home now. That's an option that we didn't have when I ran the first time. But giving them the questions ahead of time, absolutely not. I want to see how they think on their feet. That's going to tell me a lot about how broad of the scope they've thought about this job, the time involved in being on a levy. There's a lot of things that go into this job that people don't think about. And I don't think they should have the questions ahead of time. I'm very much against that.
So if there's lots of things that they don't know about, how are they going to answer your questions anyway? They don't know the answer because they've never served in this capacity.
Right, but if there's one person that can answer it and 3 that can, or 2 that can and 2 that can't, I'll be thinking to myself, wow, they've really covered all the bases. They've really thought of everything. They're not just running because a certain group wants them to run or certain people want them to do this and how they're gonna, just run and we'll do this, run and we'll do this. I want people to run because they really want to do this job and they're vested in the best interests of the students, staff, and community members. That's extremely important to me.
Again, I would caution how this is going to be perceived. This is going to be another example of us inserting ourselves someplace where we should not be.
Couldn't disagree more.
I know you
So,
disagree.
well, yeah, I mean, obviously, go ahead, Corinne.
And did you get a chance to talk? Did you want to say anything?
I did once, but go
Okay.
ahead.
Because I was just trying to combine Simon's concerns and Joellen's concerns because, well, I like this idea when you first presented it because I'm all about the more opportunities we have to get to know our candidates, the better.
Right.
So, I mean, but it would be best if we could all agree that the night was crafted carefully and in consideration so that all candidates feel they had an equal opportunity to be successful. So listening to this feedback, thinking of how we can mesh it. I'm not really in favor of hijacking Mr. Sentman's night. I think that those kids deserve to be the spotlight, and I don't think that board questions should go to the front of the line. I do like doing a different event here in a different manner. I think it should be like YouTube only, no audience.
Correct.
And I think maybe 5, if we're all gonna do one question, we give them 5 before questions so that they can prepare, to Joellen's point, so they come in feeling a little confident. They know 5 questions that they're gonna get. They've been able to research it because that's a part of this job too, right? We get the board agenda and we're supposed to research it and
That's a great point.
come prepared.
That's a good point.
And to that point, give them the questions, let them research it, seek answers, seek input from whoever they need to, because that's also something that we should do as board members, right?
Yeah.
Come prepared for the 5 questions, and then maybe we each have one question that is like a pop-up question.
So right now you're talking about the process and the semantics of how it's going to work. Let's vote on it. Okay.
Well, Joellen, I was
Yes.
just trying to address some of your concerns
I
because you're
heard-
already talking about how it's going to be a failure. So I was trying to
You're coming
answer
up
some
with
of
all
those.
the answers, right?
I'm not coming up with all the answers. I'm just coming up
Right,
with
you're
things that
coming
we
up with
could
the
do.
process. this is how it could work. That would be once we vote on it.
This is no different than you directing Mark and micromanaging him on the PLP situation, when you were telling Mark how to send the letter.
Okay,
what
Teresa,
questions.
that's
I'm
not
just
what we're
saying,
talking about.
I'm just saying, she didn't interrupt you on Monday when you were micromanaging the PLP. She's trying to respect you and include your thoughts into a, an
Point of
outcome
order,
that makes
that's
everybody
just-
happy. So I'm just
Okay,
saying,
we discussed this on Monday. I gave my input on Monday. You knew or did not know that there were 2 other events. Now
Did
we
not
know there
know.
are 2
Did not
other
know.
events. You have 5 days to figure out how to do this. You don't even know if the candidates can come.
we don't, correct.
Right. And
We'll
so
find out.
if you think you're going to beat the early voting, I mean, you don't know. You put the candidates in a position that, what if they can't attend all 3?
Well, there were some people that didn't attend our events,
Right,
and that's why
right.
it's a good
Yeah,
multiple
that may
events.
happen.
are good.
The
Which could
good point,
be an
there would be
advantage.
Well, I
Anyway,
just want to say
You
one
got
more
interrupted.
thing and
Will
I'll,
you finish? Wait, Corinne got interrupted.
My only thing was, I wasn't trying to create the night. I was
No,
just
I-
trying to think of ways that we could be proactive with
I
your
appreciate you're
concerns.
trying to come up with a way that we can all deal. I appreciate you doing that. I just am very concerned, given the climate right now, that this is not something that I think we should pursue. We have things in the district to take care of. I think that's what our community's been telling us to take care of. And now we're going in another area for something that, I hear your argument that we're invested in knowing who's going to be in here. That every taxpayer or every registered voter should be invested who's here, right? So that's not our job to figure that out for them. There are 2 events. There's the newspaper. There's whatever campaigns that they're running, that's for them to do. There's different civic groups that can invite them. They can come and get information from us by inquiring with us about what's it like to be a board member, or what are the pressing concerns that you have. They have all those opportunities. That just to me seems cleaner, and we stay out of it.
Well, I hear that concern, but as somebody who works with groups that are often excluded due to a variety of reasons, citing all the other things that they could go to, are all like civic groups, if you're invited to them, if you know the right people, Tipp City Concerned Citizens, if you're invited to it, if you know the right people, we can potentially reach everybody. Everybody has that equity of access. And as somebody who has worked with people that don't have equity, we have an opportunity to, again, use the privilege of this office to get a little bit closer to equity for our senior citizens that aren't a part of the Senior Citizen Center, that are sitting at home, but can watch on their cell phone, to people who aren't a part of the Rotary, aren't a part of the downtown partnership, or aren't a part of this group and that group, to just tune in on YouTube and watch, to bring that equity of access to our candidates. And you're right, we don't have to, we don't owe it to anyone, but given the circumstances that we can, the question is, should we?
well, and let me just say there's equity of access already, because there's going to be the government's class doing it. The question is whether we want to ask Mr. Semen if he's comfortable with adding questions or not, or whether we want to have our own. I don't think, if I could finish, please. I don't think it's appropriate for us to do it. I think that if we do it and do not provide the questions in advance, there's going to be a strong appearance of impropriety. Like tonight, there's been mention of these, seems to me the inference is that the Tipp Concerned Citizens Group are doing things that are inappropriate in favor of certain candidates and don't provide access. I've heard the same thing about a member on this board, in fact, who has allegedly invited people to go meet one specific candidate at their home. I don't care if that's occurring. That's fine. But, at the end of the day, the issue here is we, in my opinion, should not insert ourselves in this election in that manner because there's an appearance of impropriety. And if it comes out for some reason that we were supporting one candidate over the other, and there is a suspicion that our questions were sent in advance and not to other candidates, it's just going to be very destructive. I don't think it's going to be very helpful. And I really don't care at this point what you do, because I think the community understands the issues here. And if you do it, I think they'll come to a logical conclusion that's not going to be very helpful to anyone here. And so do what you'd like. If we do this, and I'm participating in it, I will publish my question to all candidates in advance. Because I don't think it's appropriate to do otherwise.
Before we move to a vote, I have to leave.
Yeah,
More
you only commented once, so
Yeah.
if you want to comment again.
I think there is a lot to sort of unpack here, getting back to the equity issue. I was surprised to learn that concerned citizens were interviewing these potential board members because it is it's an organization that is a very agendized, if you will, that their agenda is very clear. There's no debate about that, what they want. And so it creates the interviewing process of who will beholden themselves to us, I believe. That's the optics you can get. Who of these candidates, who will beholden themselves to our agenda, and therefore those are the people that we will work hard to back. For me, that's exactly what I wanted to get away from being a board member, of friends and family club mentality. I put that on in my writing when I was asked by the paper. This isn't something that's just popped up. I was very transparent about that from the beginning. I'm still transparent about that. I am beholden to no one, no group. That's why I get in trouble a lot up here. Come on, let's be honest. It is because I'm an independent voice and it gets me in trouble sometimes, but I'm beholden to no group. I plan to be beholden to no group. It's an American principle. It's a good principle. I don't see anything wrong with having another form, whether one comes, three comes. I think we're up to what, 4 certified candidates?
4 candidates.
4 certified, whether 4 come, and whether it's this form, the next form, or the last form, it's all process, it's all exposure. It allows the public more and more opportunities. The word on the street is that this board has problems. That's the word on the street. So if that's the word on the street, then we ought to be taking this real seriously. And more opportunities gives more platforms to unfold thinking process, vision, whatever, and it helps, I would hope, to make a better informed voter. So I recommend this. I will say it, and I didn't say this at the beginning, and this is common sense, that what I was told with OSBA, if the board does get involved in sponsoring, it has to be equal time, equal questions, you know, the equality thing has to be there, but I do want to say that, and I'm totally 100% supportive of that. And so I'm in favor of it as long as it's done quickly, and I hope maybe even next week we can get this process going for the early voters.
Can we move to vote?
And if we're going to motion, I'm sorry, Joe, but I think we can't fall into the trap of we just motion to approve this and then we have no model that we've approved. Therefore, we have to come back again and approve the model. So let's do it all comprehensively
Why don't we vote and then come up with the details?
and motion for the next, if it passes.
Sure.
Okay, if that
Think
will
of-
pass on our agenda.
I just
I
want,
don't know, since this
before
is a
we
special
vote, I
meeting.
just want to say,
Excuse me, Mr. Patrick, I'm still have the floor. Will that interfere with the special meeting requirement, do you think, Mr. Stefani? Because we only put on the special meeting, what's it called?
Well, it says candidates forum, so that would be
Region.
recommend approval for a live, for a,
We probably don't have to vote again on the.
No.
details
No.
Of having.
yeah, we can work
We
on the
could work on a
details.
consensus
Yeah,
at
it's the
this
forum.
meeting.
We're still speaking about the forum.
Just having an answer.
You don't think that would create a conflict of,
If you approve the form, then you have to approve, you would be approving what it is.
okay.
Right. So
or
Melanie, I believe we're,
authorizing individuals to do
Yes.
Melanie, we're ready for the vote.
it. Before we vote, I'd like to say one thing.
Sorry, Joelle's been trying to, go ahead.
It's just, is that there's statements made here that a certain board member is not beholden to a group. I would suspect, and I feel confident that there's not one board member here that's beholden to any group. And so I think that's important. I'm not beholden to a group. And I think that the issue here is whether we want to do a candidate night. And I would suggest that the motion just authorize whoever's going to do this. I'm not in favor of doing it the way it seems to be going, so I'm going to defer to whatever ends up happening here, but just authorize, if it goes forward, just authorize what I believe will be a dumpster fire, and then you can design it as you wish.
Can we call for the vote, please?
Yeah, Melanie, we're ready for the vote.
Okay. Zakor,
Yes.
Dunaway,
Yes.
Dahl,
Yes.
Heatherly,
No,
Patry.
Nope.
Motion carries. So now,
you guys can come up, just tell me what you want me to
Okay.
do and what the details are.
Sure.
I would like to receive some communication.
sure.
So I don't appreciate having to call these two when we have special meetings like this. You know, there's no reason that you can't clue us in on what's going on. We just had a meeting on Monday.
We all got the email same time as everybody
I
else.
had that exact same feeling,
Yeah.
Joellen, when I found out you received the censure document for
Yeah,
executive session.
Mr. Patrick
before I
sent
did.
you the
I had
censure
that
document.
exact same feeling.
You and Mr. Patrick ambushed this entire board with the
5
censure
pages.
document.
Yeah.
So where
I
was
was
your
online.
communication? Where was your
I was quite
communication?
surprised about that.
Communication goes both ways. The gaslighting has to stop. Okay, so getting back to the forum night, to me, it's very simple. You attended that LT Baldwin, that's the night
I
I met
attended
you.
both of them.
Well, that's the night I met you because you said hi, you ran around it up.
Right.
Did you attend the LT Baldwin? Probably not. That's when we had the 6,
I don't
it was me, Lopez, Spano.
I
It was like,
did not. I
well,
did
that's-
not.
okay. Whatever group ran that, they did an awesome job. I forget his first name was Doug. They did phenomenal. Each person had like the same exact amount of time. There was a timekeeper. The questions, it was very strict. If it was 90 seconds, boom, they cut you off. Super fair. And they also did it, there were 6 of us. So we all took turns. So the same person didn't go first. At the same time, they just went down the line. If you're first and you're second, on down. So that was pretty fair. So my idea was that, each board member do a question. Obviously, the superintendent do a question, the treasurer do a question. Everybody in central office submit a question because the people in central office are the ones that are in the trenches doing the day-to-day work. We just come twice a month. We're not doing the day-to-day work. It's not our job, right? So anyway, I know I'm talking fast, but
Yeah,
it's,
can we set a date and
Yeah.
set the questions, et cetera?
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
timeframes?
so I don't know if you have any ideas, Mr. Stefanik, or of course, no one knew if this was gonna get
I have an
approved,
idea.
if we we're gonna get a quorum, so we need a date. Go
I
ahead.
have an idea. So if we're going to do YouTube, no audience, questions and candidates
That's what I
only,
want. That's what I want.
then our work session has a very limited agenda, correct? Melanie, like,
October
I
12th?
thought it was just really little, like,
I don't
we're gonna
know
have.
any-
we're
It's
gonna
the
have
bonding and
finance done.
restructuring.
Yeah, he is coming, but I don't know what else on that agenda. I
So
forgot with
if we
Krista.
keep that agenda short, we could say candidate night starts at 7:30. So we put ourselves against a 7:30 hard stop on a work session. And then we're all here one time, the same night. We already have YouTube up and going.
You think it would take too long? How many questions for each candidate?
I was thinking 5 before questions and 5 unknown questions, 1 from each of us, 1 known, 1
That might
unknown.
get a little late if you start at 7:30.
That's what I think. I think, Mr. Stefanik, were there any calendar dates that you happened to look at? Because this was originally on the agenda for Monday,
But I do like Corinne's
Yeah.
idea. We're all set up and ready.
but the board members aren't gonna be here anyway, so it doesn't matter. Cause it's, I mean, we're doing it like an empty room kind of a thing.
Why would the
No.
board members be here?
Well, for the
I thought you
meeting,
said
11.
no board members. I thought you said,
No, I said
forum.
board members are here.
oh, okay, gotcha.
On the 12th, I'm sorry. Yeah, we'd already be here for the work session for the Baird thing, correct? The bond.
Yes.
And if they can come at 5 and we can be hard stop at least by 7 or 6:30, then we transition right into the forum.
Right.
The candidates night, everything's set up.
Mr. Stefanik had a lot of things on his plate that night, but I mean,
Oh, do you, Mr. Stefanik?
yeah, because it's like double senior night.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna be coming and going to the work session.
Right.
If I was expected to and wanted to be involved in the senior nights, and I've been involved pretty regularly on those.
Are there any good nights next, I mean, that's short notice, of course, for the candidates, but is there anything good next week, district-wise, where we don't have a packed calendar?
What about Monday, the 11th?
Well, and that would be up to the board if they wanted to have meetings 2 nights in a row. That's what that would be.
So why is it, all of our board members, you're wanting them to all be present?
It doesn't matter. I think there should be 1 or 2 people asking all the questions. Like, it takes too much time if each board member comes up, asks question.
Well, if we're just gonna do like a little round table thing, right? And the candidates are sitting right here.
Right.
I think we'll get more engagement
Mhm.
from our candidates and people in the community if we're all here.
Yeah, I mean, I have
If
no
all
problem with
5
it.
of us are here.
I have no problem. with
And
it.
then we rotate our questions, asking them ourselves.
Right.
And then we also do like you just described, like it moves down one to start it.
Right.
And if we each have 2 questions,
Mhm.
one known, one unknown, and the
That's a
second
lot.
wants
That's
to,
10 questions.
is that too many?
Well, I don't know, because I think it's important that Mr. Stefanik asked a question, Melanie does finances, we've got curriculum now.
Well,
we've
how about
got-
this? The board members ask 5 questions. If you want your question to be about finance, get with Melanie and craft a finance question.
Mm,
Because if we're gonna have everybody asking questions,
okay,
it is gonna take forever. And we'll just
Right.
limit it to each board member asks 2 questions. And that's it. And then we can have it on that night right
but
after
here's the
that.
problem with that. Because of Open Meetings Act, we aren't allowed to talk to each other ahead of time. So we might have the same questions,
We could have similar questions.
you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So I
But
kind
this
of,
isn't about board business. This is Open Meeting Acts.
well, you know how it goes. It'll get out of control.
Right, but this is not anything covered by any.
I understand. To me, it's just the appearance of it. So my idea was that the people in the central office, because they can all be on a Google sheet, right? If we create some type of Google sheet where everybody in central office put like a question. And then, so there's what, how many people work in this office? 10 maybe? So then there's like 10 questions. And then we can read that, we can see that. I just feel
I think
like,
you could, unless everybody wants
I don't
to
think
ask
we can create a
questions,
Google Doc as a
you could just have
board.
one person ask the
Because it's an open-
questions.
It would be
And
like an
then-
open meeting.
First of all, I think it's inappropriate for a board member to ask the question. I think it should be a non-board member asking the question, whether it's
Me to
the
ask the
treasurer,
question?
yes, or whether it's Mr.
Because if
Good.
we compile a list.
Whether it's
Right.
Liz, our
determine what the questions
communications,
are.
Right.
Liz asked, Mrs. Robbins asked the question.
Yeah, I like
We're
the
probably
idea of-
just listening, aren't we just, as you as members, you're not like, you keep throwing your feedback back
I
to
think it-
them.
yeah,
That's
No,
part-
there's no
that's what you
feedback.
can't do. So you're really asking and then you're saying,
Right, it's not an,
Thank you for your
it's not a two-way
time.
communication.
my next
We
question
have either
is.
like, or the treasurer or maybe.
There needs to be a
Mrs.
moderator.
Robbins.
The moderator needs to be either Mr. Stefanik or
Or
Mrs. Robbins
Mrs.
or,
Robbins, she's a and then that would free,
Right.
unless you want
Right.
to do that.
and I think it should be the same person asking the questions each
I
time.
do
I like Liz Ross. I
For
like Liz.
everybody.
I do
These
too,
are
and then
Just a neutral person.
each
Me
get
or Mark,
one,
or unless Mark.
we
you
can,
think it should be
if I may,
someone
He's
else.
busy that night.
Melanie, we can each get one question to submit to, let's say, Melanie or Mrs. Fox, and then if there's a duplicate, you're gonna see that. You're gonna see, we'll put our name on it. You can call, hey, Corinne, I'm sorry, but this question's already been.
Submitted.
Yeah, well,
Yes,
I'd like
would
to
you-
review the list before
Then
we
I
sit
think-
down on
I
YouTube,
think
so
that-
we'll determine the questions before we start.
I think that there's also needs to be like a 1-minute answer,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
1 minute. If
Definitely.
You've got 4 candidates.
Yes, that's plenty.
Was that at max 4?
Yeah, that's what we did at the other one. And the-
So for 1 minute times 4, that's 4 minutes. If we have 5 or 10, 5, 6 questions, that's what, 4 minutes?
Mhm. Would you say
Times-
5 minutes, just make it easy math?
Well, between the moderate and.
Yeah, just
okay,
say 5 minutes, easy
5
math.
5 minutes,
That's
so,
12 questions in an hour. Right?
no, if we're doing 5.
Yeah, just say 5 minutes. 12 times 5 is 60,
Okay,
12 questions.
well, I think that's a lot though, honestly.
They may not take the whole
I
five.
mean, a total 12.
I think it's gonna take longer than 5 minutes a question, because
Right.
you're assuming the next person, the minute
Exactly.
yours starts, I'm gonna start.
Exactly.
They're gonna wait and then they're gonna say, okay, now it's your turn.
Right.
So I think you should budget probably more like 7 to 8 minutes a question.
Right.
So we should probably have a timer of
So
some
it should be-
Definitely a timer.
You think the
Keep 'em on target.
response should be allowed 7 or 8 minutes?
No, that's not what she's saying.
A question, like to
question.
get through the entire panel, to be asked to
If
get
you're putting
through.
a minute timer on each
Response,
person and there's 4 people, it's not gonna take exactly 4 minutes. It'll take longer with transitions.
Right.
Here's the other thing. They did it, the LT ball one. It was awesome. They did like a lightning round. where we each had a card that said yes on one side,
Yes,
no on the
that was
other.
nice.
And they asked like 5 or 6 questions,
Oh, that's a
like,
good one.
how do you feel about open enrollment? And at the same time, you had your hold your
I
card up,
remember
yes or
that.
no.
And that's it.
How do you feel about masking? Yes or no?
There
You know,
go.
will you support the current, you know, whatever, yes or no? And that was awesome because it didn't take any time. We all just held up our cards, yes or no. And I mean, that was,
So what if we did 5 questions that solicit an actual response and another 5 questions, yes or no?
yeah, it was pretty effective. I mean,
Or if you're abstaining, your card doesn't go up.
yeah, I mean, I remember that, yes, there's no abstain. You have to say yes or no. It's yes or no. If you're abstaining on candidates night, you're gonna abstain your whole 4 years. I mean, come on.
So I like that idea a lot, Mrs.
The
Dunaway,
lightning round is
because,
kind of neat.
because that's what
It's
we do.
easy.
We vote. We may not
Yeah,
like it, but we have to
exactly.
vote.
You have to vote,
Or
right?
no. So
Right.
I
It's
love the
simple.
idea of
So what
opening it
happened?
up.
Did we decide on a date? I was curious.
No,
Okay.
we don't have a date.
What is
Do we have
that?
a date? Do you have the district calendar or not? We don't have the district calendar, right? I don't have it. Is it on the
The
tip
last
system?
thing that was suggested was that the work session goes from 5 to 6:30 with whatever agenda items are on there. And then 6:30, you roll right into the candidates.
6:45 or 7,
yeah.
7, because then the candidates have time to get home from the jobs.
Right.
If the agenda is, you know, something workable, then we'll just have to stay on.
But I like the idea of October the
Okay.
12th. I think that's great. The question is, Mrs. Fox, are you available? I'm assuming because we're gonna have that special. And Mr. Stefanik, are you saying that
What date was, yeah, check what's on your calendar that
By
night?
7 o'clock, I think all
You might
the
be-
senior recognitions are over. So I
Okay.
can be back for that. I might miss part of the bond discussion or something like that. but
Wait, so are we saying the 11th or the 12th? I'm super
12.
confused.
12 Tuesday.
Oh, so we're saying the 12th at
We're
7?
after work session.
Okay,
5 is the work session, 7 would be the candidates?
okay, so just to be clear, because I'll email Simon and Joellen, so we're all on the same page. So each board member has 2 questions? Is that what we said?
I don't like
Well, let's say each board member has 1 question and a lightning question.
Oh, I love that. Yes, a yes, no question. I love it. Okay, each BOE member. Okay, right.
And I would like to add that
Go
a
ahead.
board member has an option also of asking, like, if I want to say, Mrs. Fox, what do you think? is-
Right, so that's,
We-
and then Mr. Stefanik, are you gonna have people in your office submit questions? I think we should. Like, you don't have to say this question is from, the HR, or this question, no, but it's important.
I can send an email and get some
Yeah.
feedback.
So
And
how,
I'll share it.
how
So I think
many,
that should
how
be a-
many
ahead.
complete questions are we gonna ask?
Well, that's what I was just gonna say. If each board member does one, that's 5. And then if the central office could come up with 5, that's 10.
That's too many.
I
You think
don't-
it is?
Yeah,
Okay.
I like 5.
So do the central office want to come up
5
with
lightning
3?
round, I think that's a good.
The central office want to come up with 3?
Well, maybe 1 from the
That's-
superintendent,
right.
1 from the treasurer. If you go back to your departments and ask your people for input and come up with ones, then we have 7 extended response.
Okay.
And then we could have they could probably do more like 5 for the lightning rounds, because those are super
Right,
quick.
those are super easy.
So they get 2 extended
I would
responses.
like the board to ask the lightning rounds. I think it's really key, like, for example,
No, yeah, each board member is gonna do 1 question and 1 lightning question. That's 10, yeah.
Okay, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
And then,
Right.
and then
And then
Melanie
central office
and-
comes up with 3, meaning central office, meaning.
3 or 2?
Yeah.
I think 2,
too
because
much.
that's gonna be,
I think,
7
I think the treasurer and superintendent should
each come up with 1. Yeah, because
So
that's,
before it begins, we can make sure there's no duplicates.
Right.
We just don't get to one because we're
Right.
running out of time, then somebody might just not get their question asked.
Right,
But
yes.
I would say even if we have too many and then say you and
better
you ask the same identical one, we gotta
Right.
take that off. So it wouldn't hurt to everybody have 2.
come with
Mark
2,
and
yes.
Okay,
Well,
You guys all
remember,
have 2 and then Mark and I, and then let's see how.
but let's
many we get
designate
through.
the two categories that we come up with. 1 is a response question.
right, and 1 is a
The
yes, no lightning
second, the
round.
second
Yeah.
category is a lightning round question,
Right.
just so we're aware of that.
So 7, and then the other, who of all of us is going to, I don't know these people. I don't have their email addresses. I don't know how to contact the candidates. Should we get that information from maybe?
Oh, the
Tip?
elections?
Oh, well, Mr.
How about
Setman
the
has
election
it.
board? Do they share that?
Wouldn't
Mr.
Mr. Setman have it? Because he's doing it on the
Both of those
21st.
places, the election board and.
I might call the
Mr.
election.
Okay,
board
I'll-
rep
okay,
and
so
see
I'll
what
call-
they provide publicly.
Okay, so is everybody okay with me sending the invitation?
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's October 12th at 7 o'clock. Are the board, just real quick, are the board members gonna stay that night and be present in the audience? Or are we gonna leave?
Well, I think
Just
that's
let it
up
be
to
Mr.
individual
Stefanik.
board members.
Okay, do you
I'll
care?
probably stay.
So, yeah, yes, I think, but that's it, like,
Right.
and then it's just a YouTube event, and then we should
Yeah.
really try to like make them comfortable,
Yes.
you know, like kind of like a casual,
Yeah,
you
it's just
know,
casual.
not, just a different form, like a totally different feel, because
Right.
we're gonna have that on the stage with the mic at the high school,
Right,
whatever the Gazette's doing,
right,
and this can be more of
casual.
a casual, get
Right.
to know you.
Gotcha.
Mr. Stefanik,
Okay.
you're very.
I will call-
Here.
Just taking notes,
I'll call Laura Bruns.
drawing arrows and project.
Sounds like you might not be here that day.
You're asking
Okay.
two questions.
He's probably like, I
So,
can't.
are we good?
Okay, so I was taking notes while you were talking. I just want to make sure my understanding
Yeah,
is
go ahead.
common understanding.
Yeah.
Each board member, one
Response question.
response question,
And the question has to be able to be answered in a minute, right? Because we're giving them a minute.
right?
Minute limit.
Yeah. so
One treasurer response, one superintendent response,
By response, you mean question?
like
Yes.
a response question,
Gotcha,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And
gotcha.
then each board member is gonna bring one lightning question.
Correct,
And then the superintendent and the treasurer are gonna bring each like 2 or 3, like reflective of their offices, or what, like what's,
you
how
talking
many?
about lightning questions?
Yeah, the yes or no.
Do you guys want some lightning questions? I think you should. They're so fast, they're easy. Yeah,
We could come up. with
Definitely do
probably
too.
two.
and then
Okay, and
I'll
then
try to find a place to get the cards. I'll go on Amazon.
ideally 2 lightning questions.
Because I anticipate not maybe all board members are going to contribute to the questioning.
Well, it is what it is.
I mean, maybe not-
And then
They
if
may
we
not be
don't,
present.
right, and then
Right,
a rotation of who asks.
Yeah,
So we're
Yep.
just da-da-da-da-da.
yeah, yeah.
And then no audience, live feed on YouTube,
Yep.
60 seconds each extended
Yes.
response.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, the only thing if I understood that correctly, Mrs. Dahl, you said that like the moderator would change who's asking the question.
Huh? No.
Did you say?
Oh, is that, no, that's what I thought I heard, but that's
No,
not
no,
what we're doing?
no. The moderator,
Change who answers first.
yeah.
Oh.
So
The
so
moderator
is
would
he-
stay the same.
So Mr. Stefanik will ask all the questions,
Okay.
but we don't want the same person going first every time.
Of who
Exactly.
So
answers
you
the
take,
question.
yeah, that changes every time, just like we did.
So
it
a rotation of who answers
first,
the
yeah, goes on
questions.
down. So
Mr.
if you were-
Stefanik will read all the questions.
Right, correct.
And then who's your second, Mr. Stefanik, just in case things,
Miss
Miss Melanie,
Melanie?
if you happen to be sick or can't perform your duties as
is
Miss
the-
America, then the.
Mr. America.
You know how they say.
Mr.
"You
Runner-up
can't fulfill
America.
your
Runner-up
duties."
Bob
Mr. America.
You go, "You can't fulfill your duties."
Alex Trebek.
That's right.
Would it be okay, appropriate, to ask, she does such a good job, like
Yeah.
hosting events, if she could be
Yeah,
like the
if she wants
host
to
and the
do it,
welcomer,
I think she
and like
wants to
I
kind
think
of
it'd be great.
do like a
Mrs.
little
Robbins.
intro.
Yeah.
No, thank you for
Oh,
coming
wait,
to the Tipp
do they
City
each get
Schools.
2 minutes to introduce themselves? We forgot it.
Let's do a 2-minute intro.
We
Yes, I
did
love
that at mine, at LT Ball. We each had 2 minutes.
Personally,
an
I think it should be
introduction.
1 minute, but that's just my feeling.
Yeah,
2 minutes.
2 minutes is long, but we
It's
can,
a 60-second intro.
It's
yeah, 60-second intro.
60
I love
second
it.
Intro.
and that was nerve-wracking.
Okay.
I love it. Okay. Awesome.
It also, it's, because you know why it's good, that also reveals how concise an individual can be and how well they can
Is that in your notes
communicate
or is that in
their,
an email?
their ideas.
It's just a blank draft that, because I couldn't find out where to
Yeah.
open notes, so. I mean, I can
I was gonna say, send it to
email
me.
my,
Or
okay.
sent to me, yeah.
Okay, the other thing, what about an RSVP deadline date?
Oh, great idea. RSVP deadline.
What do we want
well-
to set that as?
I don't really, it doesn't really matter. If they come, they come. If they don't, they don't. Really, I don't care.
Well, it would be nice.
Well,
to
let's
just-
request an RSVP.
Yeah,
Ask for
10th.
one and just see.
We'll say by October 10th, we're having it on
Okay,
what?
RSVP October 10th. Yeah,
Just time to prepare.
yeah, RSVP October 10th. Add that to our little list.
That's
Yeah.
the nice thing of doing
Yeah,
it following our board.
I get
meetings.
it.
We're all set up.
I get it. October, yeah, I love it. Okay, good. Is there anything else we're forgetting?
Who's reaching out to candidates?
I'm calling Miami County Board of Elections to get all of their emails. I'll copy everybody on it, but I'll just say respond only to me, so we don't have any kind of, you know what I mean?
Sounds good.
I think we cover everything.
Well, you know, if Mr. Sentman has already
I'll
talked
get
to
the yes,
them
no page thing.
and gotten affirmatives from them, I mean, he might not be bad to maybe connect with him and say, hey, how did you reach them? Did you call them? Did
Well,
you?
board members aren't allowed to reach out to teachers, so I'll call Board of Elections.
Yeah,
I thought that was only like for,
I don't know, it's, yeah, I
okay, I get it.
would be the last person
Well,
on the
also
planet to
the
get away with that.
newspaper, the newspaper would have the email.
I'll just call board, I'm comfortable calling board of elections. That's the person I've already called. They're,
To start with there. anyway.
they're a neutral,
Yeah.
they're neutral.
That's what they said.
That's what I'm gonna do. Yeah,
So this is what I have. You guys ready for the
yeah,
last
let's
recap?
go.
Good, right.
Each candidate gets a 60-second intro.
Mhm,
Each board member gets one response question.
mhm.
I thought of a question.
Go ahead.
Simon felt really strongly about the candidates getting those before. Do we want to say we're gonna, if you want your question submitted to the candidate? Like, do we want to do that? Do we want to, I have no problem with that. I don't.
I
think
don't
it's
want to
an
submit
issue.
mine to them, no, because I mean, this is you're signing up for a 4-year commitment. And if you get caught flat-footed, you get caught flat-footed. That's just, they're gonna get caught flat. Welcome to being a board member. It's not easy.
So we'll leave that up to individual board members. If you want to email your question to
Right.
candidates, feel free. So,
Exactly, perfect.
so advance notice is up to candidates.
Yeah.
Advance notice is up to board members.
Right,
It's up to individual board members.
what's that one?
No, I was just
Oh.
thinking about Mrs. Fox. She was like,
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, 'cause
One-
that was very nerve wracking.
Right.
Going in there, I had no idea what to expect. There were like 100 people there. Go
all
ahead.
right. One treasurer response question, one super response question.
Yep,
Each BOE gets one, each board member gets one lightning question.
I thought we said 2 because they're super fast.
Okay,
We said 2.
I don't, what do you guys want me to put, one or two?
I think one is.
1?
Wouldn't
Okay,
hurt to come up with them just in case we have extra time.
Okay, yeah.
okay.
We have
Right,
something
right.
we may not
right.
get to ask. if
Okay,
one's-
we need to hurry because we're many citizens. Okay.
okay, so, who do we submit those to and by when?
The board members to Melanie, because we can't do it to each other. So we need to have our questions to Melanie by, let's get my
Submit
calendar
by
out.
10:10. That's just a really round number.
Yeah, 10:10, sure.
Submit by
11.
10:10, and you can, follow up with any questions that you have on them. Okay.
Right, love it.
Submit to Melanie by, submit to Melanie by 10:10.
Just-
Okay, rotation of
May I
who answers
suggest
the
the
question.
8th instead of Sunday on the 10th?
Just do
Okay.
10:10, it doesn't matter,
Okay.
honestly.
Rotation of who answers the question.
Yeah.
Mr. Stefanik is first reader, Melanie is the second.
Well, we
in case
might
anything
have Liz
happens.
read all these questions, so don't put names.
Well, Liz is gonna do the introduction to the night, right?
Oh,
Liz is
okay.
gonna MC the night.
I thought she was gonna do the questions too.
Is she?
I don't know, we haven't decided really.
Frankly, I think the candidates should give their introduction.
No.
No,
Who's going to ask
the-
our
the
questions?
opening of this.
right.
I thought Liz could be the MC and then
Sure.
Mr. Stefanik answers or asks
Okay,
our questions.
Sure,
Okay.
I don't care, it's fine,
Liz is the MC. All right.
gotcha.
No audience, YouTube access. 60 seconds each for each candidate for extended response, RSVP for candidates by 10:10. Teresa is reaching out to candidates.
Right, also, don't put Liz's name in there, because I don't feel right signing somebody up for a gig at 7:30 at night tonight, do you know what I'm saying?
Here.
Yeah, so
Mr.
just put, there is
Stefanik
an
will find
MC.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
check on it.
It could be Melanie, you know what I mean? I just feel, hey, you work hard all day, come for 3 more hours. I don't know. it feels
Since
weird.
I'm leaving the board, if it also kind of feels like work for
Yeah.
Liz, she could feel like she's obligated to say yes. I will MC because I'm leaving the board.
Well, then
Okay.
the argument could be that Joellen would want to do it. Do you know what I mean?
Or Joellen can do it, and I really don't care. If she wants it, she can have it.
I feel like it should just want to,
Okay,
Mr.
guys, we keep moving on.
yeah, either Mr.
Yeah, I
Stefanik or. yeah,
Okay, so
yeah,
Mr.
yeah.
Stefanik will find MC.
Gotcha, perfect.
All right.
All right.
That's
You email it to me or,
yes, I'll
okay,
email
all
it. to
right,
you.
we're good.
And we're on upcoming meetings.
Yep, so our next upcoming meetings are, oh, we go. The next work session meeting will take place on Tuesday, October 12th at the Board of Education office at 5 p.m. Next regular board meeting will take place on Monday, October 25th at the Board of Education office beginning at 6 p.m. I'm looking for a motion and a second to adjourn.
I'll move.
Corinne,
I'll second.
second, Mrs. Zakor and Mrs. Dahl. Ready for the roll, Melanie?
Zakor,
Yes.
Dahl,
Yes.
Dunaway.
Yes, meeting adjourned. Thank you. Hey, we knocked that out pretty quick, 20 minutes. It's just, the format at LT Ball worked so well.